Today we're going to simplify radical expressions. Radical expressions have a radical sign, which is the square root sign. So we're going to simplify them. We have square root of AB. It's equal to the square root of A times the square root of B. So you can split something up, right, into two separate square root or radical expressions. Here we have the square root of 4 times the square root of 9. What we can do is we can multiply what's inside the radical signs, which 4 times 9 is 36. Which what is the square root of 36? 6. Right? So allowing us to break up a square root into something like this, or multiplying to put something together, allows us to simplify them. Alright? Simplify the square root of 80. So I'm going to break up 80 into things that we can get a square root out of. So how about 4, 4, and 5?
20 times 4.
Right? Right? Now, I've practiced this a little bit, so I just recognize numbers I can come up with. Okay? 20 and 4 will give you 80. Okay? 20 gives you 4 and 5. Right? Which will allow me to do the square root of 4 times the square root of 4 and the square root of 5. What's the square root of 4?
2.
2. What's the square root of 4? 2. So I multiply them and get 4 square root of 5, and that's as simplified as possible. That's the farthest I can go. Alright? There's nothing else I can do to it without getting out a calculator. Alright? Let's do square root of 54. What do you think I can break up 54 in? One of them needs to be a square.
6.
How about what? How about 6 and 9? What's the square root of 9?
3.
So there's my answer. 3 square root of 6. Because is there anything else I can do to 6?
No.
Nope. Alright. Any questions?
This is a little easy.
Yeah, we're going to multiply square root of 2 times the square root of 14. Alright, what I want to do is I want to break up 14 into square root of 2 and the square root of 7. Why do you think I want to break it up into square root of 2 and square root of 7?
It's easy to simplify.
Because to simplify, can I multiply these two right there, and what would I get if I multiplied those two? Square root of 4, which what is the square root of 4? 2. So my answer is 2 square root of 7. So I broke this up into 7 and 2. I multiplied those, which gave me square root of 2, or gave me 2. And I can't do anything to square root of 7. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do another one. Square root of 5 and square root of 10. Neither of those have a square. Right? But square root of 10, I can break that into what?
2.
2 and 5. Which, that would, when I combine those, that would give me 5 squared, or 25, right? Which, what is the square root of 25?
5.
5. And then I combine it with the square root of 2. So there's my answer. 5 square root of 2. Alright, so we need to simplify the square root of 90 x cubed y to the 4th z to the 5th. So now we're going to be not only simplifying numbers, but simplifying it with variables. First thing I want to do is I want to split up 90. Okay? Can anyone come up with something I can split it up into?
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Which 10 would split up into what?
2 and 5.
2 and 5. Okay? And then what? What else?
9, 3.
9.
Okay?
3.
Well, no, this would give you 3, right? Okay, which we're still working it out. I don't want to solve anything just yet. I want to work it out. I want to split up x cubed into what? What do you think? X squared and x. I want to split up y to the 4th. Well, no, I can leave y to the 4th. Right? Because we know what that is going to be. And then z 5th, I'm going to split that into z 4th, z to the 4th power, and z. Yeah.
So you just like taking one off
Now I simplify what I can. I can simplify square root of 9 into 3. What do you think square root of x squared is? X. What do you think square root of y fourth is? Y squared. What's square root of z 4? Z squared. So you write all that in front, okay? Which would be 3 y squared x and z squared. I mean, it really doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. They just did it that way. Y squared x z squared. And then inside the radical sign would be everything that's left, which would be 10 x and z. All right, 2, the 5, the x, and the z. So there's your answer. Square root of 32, r squared, k to the 4th, t to the 5th. I'm going to break it up as much as possible. I'm going to do 32 into, someone raise your hand and tell me what I should break 32 into.
2 and 16.
How about 2 and 16? Okay. R squared, I'm just going to leave. K to the 4th, I'm going to leave. T to the 5th, I'm going to break into T4 and T. Everybody with me? So then we square root everything possible. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of r squared is r. Square root of k4 is k squared. Square root of t4 is t squared. I write all that out in front. 4r k squared t squared. And then all under 2t. Square root of 56, x, y to the 10th power and z to the 5th. So I'm going to do square root of 56 into 4 and 14. I'm going to do square root of x. I'm going to leave square root of y square root of 10. And I'm going to split z 5th into z4 and z1. And then square root of 4 is 2. Square root of y to the 10 is y to the 5th. Square root of z to the 4th is z2. There's nothing else I can change. So we do 2, y to the 5th, z to the z squared. And then the radical sign, and then you've got 14x z. Any questions? He asked a good question. What if I did 7 and 8 here? Well, that would give me square root of 7, and that would give me square root of 8, which 8's not a square, so I got to break that. And 2, which square root of 4 is 2. Then 2 times 7 is 14. Right? That's why I went with 14 and 4. But if you don't know that 14 times 4 is 56, that's okay. Do 7 and 8. You'll still get the same answer I do. Alright? Simplify the square root of 35 over 15. First thing I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to reduce it. What could I reduce 35 and 15 by? Square root of 7 over 3, right? This needs to be longer. Right, square root of 7 over 3, which splits into this. Square root of 7 divided by square root of 3. You can split up a division. Okay, they call it rationalizing the denominator, and that's what we're going to do, is because you cannot have the square root on bottom. We can't do it. Okay, it's not mathematically possible. So instead what we do is we have to get rid of the square root on bottom. We got to get rid of square root of 3. Does anyone know how I could do that? Times it by something. What would I times it by?
3.
By
Another
itself.
By the square root of 3. Good. What I do the bottom, I got to do the top. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 gives me what, Braylee?
9.
Which square root of 9 is?
3.
3. So timesing something by itself, we call this rationalizing the denominator, right? Something by itself gives you what's under the radical sign. Right? And then you just do the top, which would give you square root of 21. And there's your answer. Square root of 6y over 12. Is there anything I can reduce this by?
6.
I can take 6 out of those, right?
One and
Well, not,
1 and 2.
well, what do you think?
One half.
Yeah, you could just do 1/2.
3 and 4.
I mean, really, you can do by 6. Let's go ahead and just do by 6. That would give you this, right? Which can I have that? Square root of y over square root of 2.
Nope.
No, so what do I have to times this fraction by? The square root of 2. The exact same thing on what's on bottom. And what I times by on bottom, I got times that on top. So that gives me square root of 2y over 2. Because the square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. Any questions? When you have something like this, 3 over the square root of, or 3 over 5 plus the square root of 2, we have to get rid of the square root sign, but we can't just times by square root of 2. That won't work. You would, because when you do that, you would have 5 times square root of 2 plus 2, right? Because the square root of 2 times square root of 2 will give you 2. So you still haven't gotten rid of the square root sign. So instead what we do is we times by the conjugate. We're using the conjugate. The conjugate is this. The opposite of what's on bottom by changing the sign. 5 minus the square root of 2. That's the conjugate of 5 plus square root of 2. Which what you do on bottom, you do on top. The reason you times by the opposite sign is it will allow you to get rid of the square root. All right, let me show you. If you FOILed it, you would get 5 squared. And then you would get negative 5 square root of 2. And here you would get positive 5 square root of 2. And you would get square root of 4. All over what's on top, which is 3 times 5 minus square root of 2.
Is that a 5 or a square root?
So you have opposite right here, negative 5 square root of 2 and positive 5 square root of 2, which cancel each other out. And you're left with this on bottom and this on top, because I just distributed the 3 out. And then you do 25 minus 2, which what is 25 minus 2? 23. So here's your answer. 15 minus 3 square root of 2 over 23. I have gotten rid of the square root on bottom, so I am done. 7 over 3 minus the square root of 7. So what I do is I times by the conjugate. The conjugate here is 3 plus the square root of 7. The opposite of it. Alright? So on top I have 7 times 3 plus square root of 7. On bottom I'm left with 3 squared minus square root of 49. Alright, I went ahead and FOILed it, which I know when they're opposites, because this is difference of square, it gives me the square of this times minus the square root of this. So then I distribute the 7 on top. That gives me 21 plus 7 square root of 7 over what is 9 minus 7?
2.
So there's my answer. Here's your homework assignment.